This is the Anti-Imperialist Front TV news for the week ending March 29th, 2025. The Platform of International Solidarity for Political Prisoners, IS4PP, was launched. The IS4PP platform aims to unite struggle against imperialism and become a strong voice for those whom they try to silence with illegitimate trials, total isolation in prisons, and repression in general. The IS4PP welcomes information about the political prisoners' campaigns throughout the world, particularly those who resist exploitation, oppression, and genocide by imperialism, fascism, and Zionism. In Turkey, the resistance with hunger strikes is unfolding against new isolation, S, R, and Y-type prisons, or well-type prisons, as the prisoners say. Mullah Zincir, who has been on a hunger strike for 140 days, says, "Isolation is not justice, it is a crime against humanity. Isolation is not punishment, it is persecution. Lack of sun, air, and contact with other human beings is cruel. These are our basic rights. No one can live in these prisons." 9 political prisoners are on an indefinite hunger strike against well-type prisons at the moment, and on 30th March, the 10th prisoner, Fikret Akar, started an indefinite hunger strike in Çorlu Y-type prison. He initially announced that he will refuse to take water after finding out that the prison administration had arbitrarily refused to provide him with B1 vitamins and a specific type of sugar that is vital for him to endure a long-term hunger strike. We call for the prison administration to end its arbitrary attitude and not to continuously try to break prisoners' resistance using such despicable methods. We call for the sending of packages of vitamin B1 and 3 or 4 candy-type sugars to Fikret Akar to show that he is not alone, and to send emails about this to Çorlu Y-type prison. Genocide in Palestine continues. Teams of Red Cross, Red Crescent workers and Palestinian civil defense crews have reported finding a mass grave of 16 of their colleagues who had been shot and dumped into a pit by occupation forces in Tel al-Sultan, southern Gaza. Witnesses reported that they were made to kneel at the edge of the pit before being shot and falling in. All the Red Crescent team's equipment and civil defense crews' fire trucks have been destroyed. Israel has continually targeted medical and rescue workers in Gaza and Lebanon. Despite the UN reports on Israeli crimes, Western governments and media have ignored most of these atrocities, including this latest horror. Freedom for Daniela Klette. On the first day of the trial against Daniela Klette, a former Red Army faction member, more than 50 supporters gathered in front of the courthouse in Celle, Germany. Their banners bore slogans such as "Freedom for all political prisoners" and "Courage and strength in the underground." The defense attorneys criticized the court for prejudging the 66-year-old and stated that they had all assumed that the client is guilty. The security measures were excessive. The defense attorneys also called for the proceedings to be dismissed and the arrest warrant to be lifted. The trial is scheduled to continue on April 1st. A representative of the Anti-Imperialist Front gave a speech at picket outside the courthouse in solidarity with Daniela Klette and about the persecution of anti-fascists and revolutionaries in Turkey, as well as in Germany. The protests in Turkey demanding justice continue despite repression. The police have detained nearly 1,900 people, including journalists. The arrest of Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu 10 days ago triggered the largest anti-government protests in a decade and became widespread in a very short time, showing the end of the tolerance of people for injustice that has been carried on by the ruling AKP party for decades. The security forces attacked the protesters with tear gas, rubber bullets, pepper spray, and water cannon. All forms of media are under scrutiny in Turkey. Even a BBC correspondent was arrested because of covering the protests. The United Kingdom government continues repressing pro-Palestinian activists by means of their illegitimate Terrorism Act. United Kingdom government continues repressing pro-Palestinian activists. On March 4th, Sarah, a student at the School of Oriental and African Studies, SOAS, of London University and a reader of Fight Racism, Fight Imperialism, was charged under the Terrorism Act for allegedly inviting support for a proscribed organization after Zionists pressured police to act. On the same day, another activist was arrested facing similar charges. If convicted, they face up to 14 years in prison. During the trial, about 50 people gathered near the courthouse to show their support for the SOAS too. The trial will continue on 11th April. Solidarity Committee for NIKOS Romanos organized a press conference. A press conference was held at the Athens Bar Association on March 19th by the Solidarity Committee for NIKOS Romanos concerning the case of NIKOS and the case of the Ambelokipi. A member of AIF was a coordinator of the event. The lawyers explained why there is no evidence justifying pretrial detention, describing the abuse of power and the system of injustice. All speakers agreed that the Anti-Terrorism Law 187A is a law that must be abolished. In another event, a representative of the Anti-Imperialist Front participated and made a speech at the opening of the Association for Friendship with the Peoples of the Middle East in Greece. It was held for the anniversary of Quds. She highlighted the importance of solidarity among the people of the Middle East and the ongoing genocide in Palestine and Syria. And that is Anti-Imperialist Front TV news for this week. For news outside the mainstream, follow us on social media. See you next week.